In 2024, the world thought they were watching a rap battle. They were wrong. What we actually witnessed was a clinical, calculated, psychological assassination, played out in real time, in front of millions of people. And most people who watched it happen still don't know what they actually saw. How does one man make the entire music industry turn its back on the biggest commercial artist on the planet? The answer has absolutely nothing to do with music. It's about the brutal effectiveness of tactical silence and the weaponization of the human mind. To understand this collapse, you have to look at the collision of two completely opposite archetypes. On one side, you have Kendrick Lamar, a survivor of gang violence who took the trauma and bloodshed of his city and forged it into the only Pulitzer Prize in hip-hop history. On the other side, Drake, a Machiavellian business titan who built an untouchable empire not through vulnerability, but by dominating algorithms and suffocating the market. But the problem with absolute power is that it makes you blind. And Drake's fatal flaw, his narcissistic need for validation, was exactly what made him walk right into the slaughterhouse. Welcome to The Unseen Play. Today, we're going to dissect the invisible warfare that cornered a billionaire and expose the exact moment Carl Jung's philosophy of the shadow was weaponized against a man, live, in real time, in front of the entire world. Every war starts with a miscalculation. For over a decade, Kendrick and Drake maintained a cold war of subliminal shots, but they stayed in their respective lanes. That delicate balance shattered in October 2023. Drake and J. Cole released a track called First Person Shooter, where Cole proclaimed that the three of them were the big three of the rap game. To a corporate mind like Drake's, sharing the throne is good business. But to a stoic who survived the streets of Compton, grouping a fabricated pop persona with true, bleeding authenticity is an insult. Kendrick waited for the perfect moment. On March 22, 2024, he appeared on Metro Boomin and Future's album, delivering a verse on Like That erased the concept of the big three forever. He stated clearly that there is only one at the top of the rap game, and it's him. This was the bait, and Drake, driven by ego and a relentless need to control his public narrative, took it completely. When attacked, the amateur reacts immediately. The master controls the pacing. Drake rushed to respond. On April 13th, a leaked track titled Push-Ups hit the internet. Drake threw everything at the wall, mocking Kendrick's shoe size and ridiculing him for having to split his earnings with his record label. Fans loved the energy. When Kendrick didn't respond immediately, Drake's hubris took over. Just 6 days later, he dropped a secret track called Tailor-Made Freestyle. He used AI replicas of West Coast legends Tupac and Snoop Dogg to taunt Kendrick, trying to pressure him into releasing a response. Drake thought he was controlling the board. In military strategy, this is where you isolate your enemy. Kendrick utilized the power of the void. To the public, it looked like nothing was happening. In reality, it was the most calculated move of the entire war, and almost nobody watching in real time understood that. He let Drake exhaust his ammunition, tire himself out, and look desperate for engagement. Kendrick allowed the silence to amplify Drake's insecurities. On April 30th, the silence broke. Kendrick released Euphoria, a nearly 7-minute track cut into 3 parts. But this wasn't a diss track, it was an autopsy. And Kendrick didn't arrive at this moment as a natural-born predator. Years earlier, he lost 3 close friends and carried what psychologists call survivor's guilt. The quiet belief that he didn't deserve to make it out when they didn't. He spent years in real therapy working through it, laid bare across an entire album. That process is exactly why he could operate on Drake with such precision. He had already performed the autopsy on himself. Kendrick didn't try to out-rap Drake. He stepped into the role of a clinical therapist dissecting his patient. He opened the track by calling Drake a scam artist rather than a rap artist. He attacked the very core of Drake's identity, criticizing his radio-friendly pop songs, his habit of lying, and his infatuation with acting tough instead of just singing his melodies. Kendrick pointed out the tragic irony of Drake's existence, a man trying to buy the respect of a culture he never actually had to survive. Kendrick made it clear, he hates the way Drake walks, talks, and dresses. The psychological dismantling had begun. What happened next was the most violent weekend in the history of the genre. On the morning of May 3rd, Kendrick dropped 616 in LA, mocking Drake's survival stories and revealing a terrifying truth. Kendrick had moles inside Drake's own OVO team. He told Drake that his own entourage whispers that he deserves to fail. Cornered and bleeding, Drake panicked. At 8 p.m., he released a 7-minute music video called Family Matters. He went for the absolute lowest blows, claiming Kendrick abused his fiancée Whitney, and that one of his children actually belonged to his business partner Dave Free. Drake thought he had delivered the kill shot. 30 minutes later, Kendrick completely suffocated him. He released Meet the Grams, a haunting 6.5-minute song structured as a letter to Drake's family. He apologized to Drake's son Adonis for his father's behavior. He scolded Drake's parents for raising a horrible person with a sick mind. He addressed a rumored hidden daughter. And finally, he spoke to Drake directly, listing his addictions to gambling, drinking, and pills. This is Carl Jung's concept of the shadow in full effect. The shadow is the dark, repressed part of our psyche that we hide from the world. Kendrick acted as a massive, inescapable mirror, forcing Drake to confront every single one of his hidden demons on a global stage. Drake tried to defend himself the next day with The Heart Part 6, claiming he purposefully fed Kendrick fake information about the hidden daughter. But he was defensive, exhausted, and no one believed him. Kendrick, however, was ready to deliver the cultural checkmate. He dropped Not Like Us, a West Coast anthem that labeled Drake a colonizer and a predator, directly referencing past controversies with underage girls. The song didn't just win the battle, it united an entire city. Kendrick performed it 5 times at his pop-out event in LA, flanked by legends like Dr. Dre, proving that true culture cannot be bought. The music video for Not Like Us cemented the victory. It showed Kendrick dancing happily with his fiancée Whitney and his children, instantly destroying Drake's allegations of domestic abuse. It was a love letter to Compton, to survival, and to authenticity. Kendrick proved that you cannot fake the pain of the streets. Drake grew up acting on television in a wealthy Toronto neighborhood. Kendrick grew up watching drive-by shootings from his front lawn, turning his deepest traumas into art. The industry made it official soon after. In February 2025, Kendrick swept 5 Grammy Awards for a song built entirely around a public execution. Then, just days later, on February 9, 2025, he walked onto the biggest stage in American culture and headlined the Super Bowl halftime show in front of well over 100 million people, delivering one of the most culturally significant performances in television history. He didn't just win the war. He got paid, awarded, and immortalized for it, live on national television. Kendrick Lamar didn't just win a rap beef. He executed a masterclass in psychological warfare. He proved that stoicism, patience, and absolute authenticity will always crush a fabricated image, no matter how much money is behind it.
But if you think Drake accepted this defeat and faded away, you don't understand the mind of a Machiavellian billionaire. The war didn't end. It just moved from the streets to the courtroom. Drake sued his own record label, Universal Music Group, claiming they knowingly weaponized Not Like Us against him. A federal judge threw the case out, but Drake's team are appealing right now, and word on the street, only speculated, is that the number they're chasing could hit $100 million. And that raises the question nobody seems to be asking. If Kendrick's stoic patience was enough to dismantle Drake's public image, why is Drake still the most streamed artist on the planet? In the next episode of The Unseen Play, We go inside the mind of Drake himself, the algorithmic emperor who refuses to lose.